Well, the economy is now in the hands of President Trump, and there are some amazing signs that the famed builder is off to a great start. I've got 3 items today that nobody is talking about, but they're more important than Apple's earnings and Facebook's earnings. First, ISM Manufacturing Survey. Blockbuster, coming in at the highest level since November of 2014. Segments are growing at the faster pace, and we've got new orders. Production, employment, by the way, enjoyed one of its biggest moves in some time. Most telling to me, though, and most encouraging were the responses about commodities. All commodity prices, from aluminum, copper, nickel, steel, we're talking carbon cold and hot rolled, by the way, titanium, corrugated boxes, all were higher, none were lower or in short supply. So to me, that means demand must be driving commodity prices. Now, I've talked about packaging companies as an economic proxy and a harbinger of growth. Today, Avery Dennison shares surged after the company posted impressive results. Their label and packaging materials company, the margins climbed 9.1% from 7.3%. The labels business, which is the majority of it, up almost 10%. Margins there at 11.3%. Just know that they climbed big time year over year. So did branded sales, where operating margins surged to 9.3% from 3.2%. And then there's those 30 fingernail jobs. They came back big time last month, according to ADP. And I got to tell you, heartening development. We saw a reversal of fortunes in 3 key areas. Mining up 6,000 after losing 6,000 on average last year. Manufacturing bled over 3,000 jobs a month last year. In January, it grew by 15,000. And construction, 25,000 new jobs, a 300% improvement over its 2016 average. I think these numbers are only the tip of the iceberg. It could get a lot better if President Trump gets his programs passed through Congress. Joining me now to discuss, Ed Conard and Ford O'Connell. Ed, where am I wrong, buddy? Tell me where I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think we've seen the numbers are impressive, and I think we've seen a quick turnaround in confidence since the fall, when it became clear that President Trump was going to be elected and was elected.
So where do we go from here then? I mean, can this momentum keep going? Because I feel the kind of momentum I don't think is going to be a flash in the pan, and only something dumb in Washington, D.C. can derail this.
Well, I think you have a tough, complicated haul in Congress passing the kind of legislation that lowers taxes and truly rolls back regulations. That's going to require, I was with Chairman Ryan last night talking about it. It's a complicated mix of both changes that they want to make and maneuvering that they have to do in Congress to be able to, for example, pass tax reform under reconciliation and to make it permanent in the long run. There's a lot of complications to go with that, and there's got to be a lot of joint effort between the President and Congress to really get these things done. In
the meantime, Ford, that sentiment spike we saw immediately after November 8th, that sentiment now manifesting into reality, and that's what I like, because again, you know, I've always said, and I've always believed, that any economic scheme, if it's going to work, people have to buy into it, because a certain portion is going to be self-fulfilling.
Well, I think that the Trump economy is off to a solid start because, as you point out, the optimism. Look, manufacturers saw the strongest growth in over 2 years, and we're seeing that, you know, private sector jobs are exceeding expectations. And I think that the optimism is because you're seeing Donald Trump break with the Obama policies, particularly with respect to regulations and energy. And I think that you can continue to have this boom going forward. And I think that the only people that can screw this up are the idiots in Washington. So as long as Donald Trump keeps pushing the ball in the right direction, keeps saying the right thing, and turns that rhetoric into formal policy, I think you can see a lot of people, including the Fed, as we saw, have optimism about where we're headed.
You know, the optimism part I love, because a lot of people who are apolitical, they're not into it the way we are. They are feeling it. People I know who don't pay attention to this kind of stuff, people who didn't vote, they are admitting, I feel something. So when you talk to Paul Ryan next time, I know it's complicated, Ed, but I mean, even if you do it in stages, can we get the taxes lowered first before we get to the more complicated? How complicated is it to lower our tax rate?
I think that was certainly what the main part of the discussion was, and the impression you got is there is a path to victory. It's a narrow path to victory, and you got to have a lot of moving parts fall into place. It's impressive how much they've thought about it and engineered it, not only on the tax policy side, but also on how you maneuver it politically through Congress and get it done. I walked away quite optimistic, and I do agree that, you know, optimism breeds a positive feedback loop of more optimism, and the same thing on the negative side. And you saw 8 years of tepid growth, no rebound from the economy. We're primed for a change.
We got to leave it there, Ford. But again, you made the great point. It's about how we feel, and we're manifesting that into reality.